When you witness Mursi men engaged in fierce stick battles that leave them bloodied and scarred, you might think it's savage brutality. But the Donga fighting tradition represents centuries of refined martial arts, social education, and cultural bonding that modern society has largely forgotten. Donga introduction. Deep within Ethiopia's remote Omo Valley, the sound of wooden sticks clashing together echoes across the landscape as Mursi men engage in one of Africa's most intense cultural traditions. This practice, known as Donga, represents far more than simple combat. It's a comprehensive educational system that has shaped Mursi society for countless generations. The tradition serves multiple purposes within their community, functioning as entertainment, education, and social organization, all combined into one powerful cultural practice that transforms young boys into respected warriors and community leaders. Historical origins. The Donga fighting tradition traces its roots back several centuries, emerging from the practical necessity of preparing Mursi men for the challenges of pastoral life in one of Africa's most demanding environments. Originally developed as training for actual warfare and cattle raiding, the practice evolved into a ritualized form of combat that maintains essential skills while minimizing genuine violence. Archaeological evidence and oral histories suggest that stick fighting traditions existed among various East African pastoral communities, each developing their own unique variations based on local needs and cultural values. Sacred sticks. The fighting sticks used in Donga battles are not ordinary pieces of wood, but carefully selected and prepared instruments that hold deep cultural significance within Mursi society. Mursi fighters typically choose wood from specific tree species, known for their strength and flexibility, often spending weeks searching for the perfect branch that meets their exacting standards. The preparation process involves careful shaping, drying, and sometimes ritual blessing of the sticks by community elders. Each fighter develops a personal relationship with their weapon, and the stick often becomes a symbol of their identity and fighting prowess within the community. The length, weight, and balance of each stick are precisely calibrated to match the fighter's physical characteristics and preferred fighting style, making each weapon unique to its owner. Combat rules. Despite its appearance of chaotic violence, Donga fighting operates according to strict traditional rules that ensure fairness and minimize serious injury among participants. Fighters must use only designated types of sticks and are prohibited from striking certain parts of the body, particularly the head and joints, which are considered vulnerable areas. The combat is overseen by experienced elders who serve as referees, stopping fights when necessary and ensuring that traditional protocols are followed throughout the competition. Violations of these rules result in immediate disqualification and potential social consequences within the community that can affect a fighter's reputation for years. These regulations demonstrate the sophisticated nature of the tradition and its focus on skill development rather than causing genuine harm to opponents, revealing the wisdom embedded in traditional practices. Training process. Young Mursi boys begin learning the fundamentals of Donga fighting from an early age, starting with basic stick handling and gradually progressing to more advanced techniques under careful supervision. The training process emphasizes discipline, respect, and self-control alongside physical skills, teaching boys that true strength comes from mastering oneself before attempting to defeat others. Experienced fighters serve as mentors, teaching not only combat techniques but also the cultural values and social responsibilities that accompany participation in the tradition. Physical conditioning includes strength training, flexibility exercises, and endurance-building activities that prepare young men for the demanding nature of the sport and life in general. Mental preparation focuses on developing courage, strategic thinking, and the ability to remain calm under pressure, skills that serve fighters well beyond the combat arena in all aspects of their adult lives. Social status. Success in Donga fighting significantly impacts a man's position within Mursi society, influencing everything from marriage prospects to leadership opportunities and community respect. Accomplished fighters gain admiration from their community, often becoming role models for younger generations who aspire to achieve similar recognition and honor. The reputation earned through fighting prowess can lead to increased social influence and the ability to participate in important community decisions that affect the entire tribe. Women often prefer to marry successful fighters, viewing their combat skills as indicators of strength, courage, and ability to protect their families from external threats. This social recognition system motivates young men to dedicate themselves seriously to mastering the tradition and developing the character traits it represents. The status gained through Donga extends beyond the fighting arena, affecting a man's economic opportunities, political influence, and overall standing in the complex social hierarchy of Mursi culture. Manhood rituals. The Donga tradition plays a crucial role in the transition from boyhood to manhood within Mursi culture, serving as both test and celebration of masculine maturity and readiness for adult responsibilities. A young man's first serious fight marks an important milestone in his life, demonstrating his courage and readiness to take on the challenging responsibilities of adult life within the community. The ceremony surrounding these initiations involves the entire community, with families and friends gathering to witness and celebrate the young warrior's bravery and skill. Success in these early fights establishes a young man's reputation and helps determine his future role within the social hierarchy of Mursi society. The spiritual aspects of these rituals connect the individual fighter to ancestral traditions and reinforce his identity as a member of the proud Mursi warrior culture. These ceremonies often include prayers, traditional songs, and ceremonial feasts that mark the transformation from childhood to adulthood. The community's participation in these rituals demonstrates collective support for the young man's development and integration into adult society. Tournament-structured Donga competitions are organized around seasonal cycles and important community events, creating structured opportunities for fighters to demonstrate their skills and compete for recognition within their community. These tournaments often coincide with cattle herding seasons and agricultural cycles, when communities have time and energy to devote to cultural activities and celebrations. The competitions bring together fighters from different areas and villages, fostering inter-community relationships and cultural exchange that strengthens bonds between Mursi groups. Tournament organization requires significant community coordination, with designated areas prepared for fighting, food and drink arranged for spectators, and experienced referees selected to oversee the competitions fairly. The festive atmosphere surrounding these events transforms them into major social gatherings that strengthen community bonds and cultural identity among all participants. Multiple age categories and skill levels ensure that fighters of different experience levels can participate meaningfully. Prize ceremonies and recognition events celebrate not just winners, but all participants who demonstrate courage and skill. These tournaments serve as important cultural preservation activities that maintain traditional knowledge and practices for future generations. Injury management. Despite the apparent brutality of Donga fighting, the Mursi people have developed sophisticated methods for preventing and treating injuries that occur during combat, demonstrating their advanced understanding of traditional medicine. Traditional healers play important roles in tournament events, providing immediate care for wounded fighters and ensuring that injuries are properly treated using time-tested methods. Herbal medicines and traditional healing techniques help fighters recover quickly from cuts, bruises, and other combat-related injuries that might occur during intense battles. The community takes collective responsibility for caring for injured fighters, demonstrating the strong social support systems that surround and protect participants in the tradition. Prevention strategies include proper warm-up procedures, recognition of fighter fatigue, and immediate intervention when fights become too intense or dangerous for participants to continue safely. Pre-fight preparation includes blessing ceremonies and protective rituals that fighters believe help prevent serious injury. Post-fight care involves not only physical treatment, but also emotional support and community recognition for brave participation. The integration of spiritual and physical healing approaches reflects the holistic worldview of traditional Mursi medicine and their understanding of human well-being. Modern challenges, contemporary pressures from government policies, healthcare, concerns, and changing social attitudes pose significant challenges to the continuation of the Donga fighting tradition in its traditional form. Ethiopian authorities sometimes discourage the practice due to concerns about violence and injury, creating tension between traditional cultural expressions and modern legal frameworks that prioritize individual safety. Younger generations who attend formal schools may develop different perspectives on physical combat and traditional practices, leading to declining participation in some areas as modern education influences their worldview. International human rights organizations occasionally criticize the tradition without understanding its cultural context and significance, applying external standards to indigenous practices without considering their meaningful role within traditional society. Healthcare access and modern medical knowledge have also influenced how communities think about injury risk and the wisdom of maintaining potentially dangerous traditional practices in contemporary times. Economic pressures and urbanization draw young men away from their communities, reducing the number of participants and threatening the transmission of traditional knowledge to future generations. Tourism and media attention sometimes sensationalize the practice, distorting its cultural meaning and turning sacred traditions into spectacles for external audiences. Despite these challenges, many Mursi communities work actively to preserve their cultural heritage while adapting to contemporary realities and finding balance between tradition and modernity. Cultural misconceptions. Outside observers frequently misunderstand the Donga tradition, interpreting it through their own cultural lenses rather than seeking to understand its meaning within Mursi society and its important role in community life. Media representations often sensationalize the violence while ignoring the cultural education, social bonding, and character development aspects that make the tradition valuable to its practitioners and their communities. Many people assume that the fighting represents primitive behavior or excessive masculinity, without recognizing the sophisticated rules, cultural purposes, and community support systems that govern and protect the practice. These misconceptions can lead to cultural insensitivity and inappropriate attempts to discourage or eliminate traditions that serve important functions within indigenous communities and their social organization. Educational efforts by anthropologists and cultural advocates work to provide more accurate and respectful interpretations of the tradition and its significance within the broader context of Mursi culture. The challenge lies in helping outsiders understand that practices which may seem violent or unnecessary actually serve complex social, educational, and cultural functions that cannot be easily replaced by modern alternatives. International observers often fail to recognize the voluntary nature of participation and the extensive safety measures embedded within traditional practices. The tendency to judge indigenous practices by external standards rather than understanding them within their proper cultural context contributes to widespread misunderstanding and inappropriate criticism of meaningful traditional activities. Future prospects. The long-term survival of the Donga fighting tradition depends on the Mursi community's ability to balance cultural preservation with adaptation to changing circumstances and external pressures from the modern world. Some communities have begun modifying aspects of the practice to address safety concerns while maintaining its essential cultural functions and meanings within their social system. Documentation efforts by researchers and community members help preserve knowledge about traditional techniques, rules, and cultural significance for future generations who may need to adapt the practice to new circumstances. International recognition and support from cultural preservation organizations provide resources and advocacy that help communities maintain their traditions despite external challenges and criticism from those who misunderstand their purposes. The involvement of younger generations in these preservation efforts is crucial for ensuring that traditional knowledge is not lost, as communities navigate the complex challenges of maintaining cultural identity in an increasingly globalized world. Educational programs that teach both traditional knowledge and modern skills help young people understand the value of their cultural heritage while preparing them for contemporary opportunities and challenges. Community leaders work to find creative solutions that honor traditional values while addressing legitimate concerns about safety and adapting to changing social and legal environments. The ultimate future of Donga fighting will be determined by the Mursi people themselves as they make decisions about which aspects of their culture to preserve, modify, or adapt while maintaining their essential identity and values in a rapidly changing world. Community impact. The Donga fighting tradition extends far beyond individual combat to create profound impacts on the entire Mursi community structure and social organization. During tournament seasons, entire villages mobilize to support their fighters, creating economic opportunities through food preparation, craft sales, and tourism activities that benefit many families. The tradition serves as a powerful mechanism for conflict resolution between communities, as disputes can be settled through organized combat rather than prolonged feuds that might damage inter-community relationships. Women play crucial supportive roles in the tradition, preparing fighters, treating injuries, and maintaining the cultural knowledge that surrounds the practice, demonstrating that Donga is truly a community-wide cultural system. The practice also serves as an important form of entertainment and social gathering that brings people together during otherwise isolated pastoral life, strengthening social bonds and cultural identity across the entire community network. The Donga stick fighting tradition reveals how indigenous communities use controlled conflict to teach essential life skills and cultural values. What outsiders might see as unnecessary violence actually serves as sophisticated education system for developing courage, discipline, and social responsibility. This tradition demonstrates that physical challenges can be powerful tools for personal development and community bonding when conducted within proper cultural frameworks and traditional wisdom. Rather than condemning practices that seem violent to outside observers, we can learn from the deeper purposes these traditions serve in their cultural contexts. As the world becomes increasingly connected, the challenge for the Mursi people is maintaining these meaningful traditions while adapting to contemporary concerns about safety and violence. The future of Donga fighting will depend on finding ways to preserve its cultural value while addressing modern health and legal considerations in culturally appropriate ways.